So we'll continue. This is Columbus State Senator Josh McKoon, Republican candidate for Secretary of State. Senator McKoon.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Josh McKoon. I'm running to be your next Secretary of State to make Georgia the fastest state in the nation to get a job and the toughest state in the nation to cast an illegal vote. It's just that simple. Two things I want to tell you today. The first, a little bit about who I am and where I come from. Second, why I think I'm your best choice in the May 22nd Republican primary. My family moved to Georgia because my great-grandfather had a job opportunity. That job opportunity was to work at the Eagle and Phoenix Textile Mill in downtown Columbus along the banks of the Chattahoochee River. He worked in that mill for 50 years. My grandfather dropped out of school in the 8th grade to help take care of our family during the Great Depression. He worked a lot of odd jobs until World War II broke out. At that time, he went down the street to Fort Benning. He enlisted in the Army. He served in the Pacific until the war ended. He moved back to Columbus. He married my grandmother, who worked at commercial printers. When he came back to Columbus, he worked as a milkman for Wells Dairy. He worked as a conductor for the Central of Georgia Railroad back when there was rail service between Columbus and Atlanta. Eventually, he and my grandmother saved up enough money to open a little grocery store at 5th Avenue and 8th Street in downtown Columbus. It was the first of several small businesses they owned and operated together. They had a grocery store, a gas station. The last business they owned and operated was a laundromat. One of my earliest childhood memories is refilling the Coca-Cola machine with my granddad at the laundromat. My dad was the first member of our family to go to college. Dad went to Auburn. He worked at the same Eagle and Phoenix Textile Mill in the summer to earn tuition. Then he went on to law school, and he's practiced law for the last 40 years. I followed in my dad's footsteps. I went to Furman University for my undergraduate education, and they tell you to get the bad news out of the way early in these speeches. I went to the University of Alabama for my law degree, so I'll go ahead and get that out of the way. Oh, there are a couple of fans out there. That's great. So John Barrow is the likely Democratic nominee in this race. And I think most people here know what Twitter is because of our president. Well, John Barrow got on Twitter the night of the national championship game between Alabama and Georgia, and he said, I hope everybody running for Secretary of State is pulling for Georgia, even Josh McKoon, who went to the University of Alabama. And I've been a lifelong Georgia fan, much to my dad's chagrin. So I responded right back to Congressman Barrow, and I told him, I'm pulling for Georgia tonight, and I didn't even have to ask Nancy Pelosi permission. And since then, I haven't heard from the congressman. But I tell you all that just to give you a sense of who I am and where I come from. And what got me interested in politics and public affairs is an idea that, you know, my family and myself personally, we've been able to live out our American dream. We've been able to chart our own course because of the opportunities afforded to us by this state and this nation. And in my opinion, it's getting harder and harder for the average person to achieve their American dream. And I believe that's because of a government that has gotten too big and has gotten in the way. And so I think it's the job of all of us as Republicans to reduce the size and scope of government, to connect people to the dignity of honest hard work so that they can live their own American dream. So I want to close with you today by telling you 3 questions I think you need to answer in deciding who your candidate for Secretary of State should be. The first question is, are they ready to do this job? This is a complicated position. You have the corporations division, the elections division, professional licensing, securities, charities. As a lawyer in private practice, I've practiced election law. I've done election contests. I've worked on ballot access cases. I know how Georgia election law and federal election law work. I'm ready to do that part of the job. I've filed corporate paperwork with the corporations division. I'm ready to do that part of the job. As a legislator for the last 8 years, I've worked with the licensed professions on the Regulated Industries Committee. I'm ready to do that job. I'm ready to walk in the office in January of 2019 and do the job. That's the first box you need to check if you're going to be the Republican nominee. Now, the second question you need to answer is, who is best able to defeat John Barrow in the November election? I mean, I want to make it really clear, that is not going to be a cakewalk, ladies and gentlemen. In my opinion, he is going to be the most prominent Democrat on the statewide ballot in November. There will be millions of dollars flowing into the state from New York and Los Angeles for the Democrats to get a toehold in state government. You've got to put your A-team on the field in November to defeat John Barrow. He is going to masquerade as a middle of the road, conservative Democrat. So you need somebody who can not only articulate our message on jobs and elections integrity, you need somebody who is prepared to relentlessly prosecute the case against John Barrow and remind the public he voted for Nancy Pelosi for Speaker of the House. Remind the public he voted with Barack Obama 85% of the time as a member of Congress. You need someone in a statewide campaign who understands these issues, who can articulate them well. And you need someone who's got a statewide organization. I've been endorsed by 21 of my fellow state senators who collectively represent over 3.5 million Georgians. I've been endorsed by our insurance commissioner, Ralph Hudgens, because they understand the battle that we're going to be facing in November. So we're prepared. We're ready to defeat John Barrow in the November election. The third and final question you need to answer is, who can you trust to do what they say they're going to do? Anyone can get in front of a microphone and make you promises. You need to look at the record of the folks who are running for office and ask yourselves, will they do what they say? And if you ask people who've served with me, if you ask the constituents of the 29th Senatorial District, they'll tell you, my word is my bond. I've stood strong on the issues that matter for conservatives. That's why I've been A+ rated by the NRA for my 8 years in the state legislature. So for all of those reasons, I'm asking for your vote and support on May 22nd or during early voting starting April 30th, Josh McKoon to be your next Secretary of State. Thank you very much.
Thank you.